Good afternoon and welcome to this special edition MC Commute, coming to you live from the official press introduction of the 2021 Ducati Multistrada V4 S. So let's swing a leg over this thing and tell you what it's like to ride.
All right, guys, here we are at the official North American press introduction for the 2021 Multistrada V4 S. This is Ducati's 4th generation Multistrada adventure bike, and we are here in the SoCal desert to do a review of it. I am just adjusting the levers on this motorcycle. I am very particular about, not super particular, but a little particular about the placement of my levers, so I'm just setting it up here. So here we are on the Multistrada V4 S. This motorcycle has a retail price of $24,095. We are riding on the spoke wheel equipped Multistrada V4 S, which adds another $600. So $24,695 for this bike. This thing now rolls on larger diameter front wheel, 19-inch front wheel, as opposed to the 17-inch that the Multistradas always come with. And of course, it still rolls on a 17-inch rear hoop. We are riding on Pirelli's Scorpion Rally tire. This is a more aggressive off-road tire as compared to the Rally STR. And Pirelli says it's, a 50-50 based tire. So a lot going on this motorcycle on the electronic side. The switchgear and menu navigation is a little bit, it takes some work to get used to all the settings and how to dial everything in. I'm going to set it in the touring mode right now. Change some settings. I like the medium power mode. That's good. DTC. I don't even want DTC on. I'm just going to turn it off because I don't even like DTC, to be honest with you. ABS. I'm going to turn that to the least intrusive setting with rear ABS disabled. Oops. Oh God, we screwed up. Like I said, it's easy to make mistakes in the menu and get out of the setting you want to be in. We'll go back to touring. Wheelie control, let's turn, that's already off, thank God. And now we're ready to ride. This thing has semi-active suspension on it, so the suspension automatically adjusts the damping settings in real time based off rider control input and vehicle speed and conditions. It also has electronically adjustable preload. So, you can adjust preload and modify the ride height of the motorcycle based on... What's up, man? Yep, I'm good. That is the Ducati North America PR guy asking me if I'm good, which I replied, I am good. So away we go. We're riding in enduro mode. It defaulted into that, but I don't want to be in enduro mode because I like touring mode. So we're going to go up back into this menu system and select touring mode. Now, we spent all morning riding the standard Multistrada V4 S with the Pirelli Scorpion Trail 2 street tires in cast alloy wheel configuration, and it worked really well. This bike it's crazy how much it gets some. It has so much performance. This V4 engine, ever since Ducati unveiled the engine in the Panigale V4, I fell in love. It has so much power, it hits so hard, it has so much torque now. It still has that Ducati charisma. It's smoother. It's just, all in all, just a much better and more sophisticated engine. Now, for the Multistrada application, Ducati actually increased the cylinder bore. So they love increasing the cylinder bore on their engines, and this Multistrada has 2mm wider pistons. This nets a 55cc increase, so now the engine displaces 1158cc. So the Panigale V4 is 1103, this is 1158. Now they did that to be able to produce more torque and more power at a lower RPM. This bike redlines at 10,500 RPM, where the Panigale and its derivatives redlines, you know, around 15,000 RPM. So 5,000 more RPMs out of the Panigale, 5,000 less on this Multistrada. But realistically, having a lower revving engine, especially on the streets, actually nice. It's just the power is where you want it to be, and you don't have to have this thing revving to the moon for it to accelerate. But because it's Ducati, this thing still is going to like to rev to the moon. And when you rev near its 10,500 RPM redline, it's just crazy how hard this thing pulls. It easily does wheelies in second gear on the throttle. It's just a very, very powerful engine. Ducati claims 170 horsepower at the back tire. You know, I'd say it's probably right around 148 at the back tire. Oh, I'm sorry, they say 170 at the crank, but around 148 horsepower at the back tire, you can expect that. Now, because we're riding on this pretty aggressive knobby tire, it's taking me a little bit of time to acclimate to the bike's handling. These rally tires are a lot more squishy than the street tires we just rode, and that squishiness adds a degree of complexity to the handling, because now you have another thing moving in addition to the suspension. Still, pretty neat that we're able to ride this quickly on the pavement on a 50/50 knob tire. Now, Ducati really, the last few decades, they've just been pushing hard in the electronics realm. And this Multistrada V4 S has all the bells and whistles. It's almost too much. Keeping tabs on everything is this 6.5-inch color TFT display. It is very similar in size, actually identical in size, to Ducati's chief nemesis, which has a boxer twin engine, if you can put that together. So a lot of electronic doodads. You can adjust the engine power, the suspension damping, obviously, wheelie control, traction control, ABS. But really what I think is the neatest function on this bike for 2021 is the adaptive cruise control. Yes! So Ducati has joined the big leagues in the automotive world by fitting adaptive cruise controls. This motorcycle actually has a Bosch sourced radar system, front and rear radar, and that gives the motorcycle the ability to figure out how far an object is in front of it and be able to manipulate the throttle and be able to stay pace with the vehicle in front of you. So if the vehicle accelerates, this motorcycle accelerates too. If the vehicle slows down, it automatically slows down. We got to use it in the morning, and it is just unbelievable how well that system functions. In a way, it almost kind of scares me, because when I have adaptive cruise control on, it's just another way that I'm relying on the machine, and I almost kind of zone out, because now I'm not even paying attention to my speed, because I'm just letting the machine do it. So I'm not going to say it's a good or bad feature, but it was nice being able to let the machine dictate the speed for you. Now, the rear radar on this motorcycle also fulfills the blind spot detection. So if a vehicle is in your blind spot in relation to the blind spot on this mirrors, yellow lights illuminate on this mirror, on either side of the mirror, alerting you that there is some object or vehicle there in your blind spot. We used the technology earlier, and it is, again, awesome being able to have that safety thing. Ducati always pushes hard in the electronics realm, and usually their first year electronics things that they've come out with are always kind of hokey poke and don't work that well. This one works really well out of the box. Now, this motorcycle has Bluetooth. There's a USB port right here so you can plug in your phone. Ducati has introduced a mapping function so you can literally navigate off your phone, and the map displays right here on the menu. The Motorrad crew has that set up too. I haven't really gotten to play with Ducatis very much, but the Motorrad setup is very, very slick. So if they're able to match the Motorrad's slickness in terms of apparatus, that'll be good for Ducati. But because we're on this Ducati-led press introduction, we have to play by their rules, and we're subject to their time schedule, so we can't just do our own thing and play with all the settings and that kind of stuff. But we look forward to trying that maps function in an ancillary review in the future. Now, there is some hum from these tires. You can hear some audible hum in the cockpit. It also has a little bit less of a smooth ride just from that, the knobs on the tires. But we were riding this motorcycle in the morning on the street. It's just crazy how smooth this bike has become. From the way the engine vibrates to how solid the chassis feels now. We were riding this motorcycle at triple-digit speeds, and I just couldn't believe how stable and comfortable it was. Now, this bike now has a one-touch adjustable windscreen, so you can adjust the windscreen easily while riding. You want more air on you, you put it down. You want less air on you, you put it up. Done. There's also a mini 12-volt power port here, so you can charge the devices. Suspension. This motorcycle has all new suspension, all new frame. They have gone to a monocoque style frame, just like the Panigale. This monocoque frame is fabricated out of cast aluminum, and this has allowed Ducati to reduce the wheelbase and increase the suspension travel. It also has a double-sided conventional swing arm, so the single swing arm's gone. And Ducati really cites they want this bike to be more apt when you're riding off-road. That's why they went to the 19-inch front wheel, just to have that extra diameter. They didn't want to go with a real dirt-orientated 2118 setup, just because they didn't want to lose the high level of road handling that a 1717 or now a 1917 offers. And we can attest to that. This 530-pound, it's about 530 pounds with a full 5.8 gallons of gas, is exceptionally maneuverable, exceptionally good handling on the pavement. All right, guys, we are going to switch in enduro mode. Let's just see what Ducati has set it up with. They have DTC. We got to turn DTC off. We do not need DTC on. So let's go here real quick. Setting menu. Setting menu. Riding mode. Enduro. DTC. Let's turn that off. Definitely don't want that on. ABS. That's perfect. Ducati wheelie control is off by default. We are good, dude. We are good. Engine. Let's make sure the engine is on medium. We want to have full power. I always like riding in full power, even off-road, just because I like the ability to gas her up and clear obstacles if I have to. And away we go, guys. So we're riding off-road now. We can't really see very much because this guy is dusting us out, but it'll be okay. More suspension travel, more ground clearance. Ducati is really touting this motorcycle as a more superior off-road vehicle. Another important change in the engine department is the switch from the Desdromic valve train. That's all Ducati's ever known as Desdromic valve train. Now they've switched to a conventional steel valve spring setup on this Multistrada V4 S, and they've done that to increase the reliability of this motorcycle. They want it to go the distance. Ducatis have always been renowned for their notorious maintenance cycles, and this new valve train allows Ducati riders to go 36,000 miles between valve adjustment intervals. That is insane. 36,000 miles. Its main competition, BMW and Honda, have a valve maintenance schedule much below that number, which is just amazing that Ducati is able to do that. Oil change service is at 9,000 miles, so every 9,000 miles this thing needs oil service. But that's pretty neat that this bike can go that far on without service. Amazing, actually. So we're just riding in the sand right now. It's not particularly difficult, but at the same time, it's not particularly easy. These bikes always dislike soft sand, and because these tires on these motorcycles are so wide, they just catch in the sand. So we're gonna go a little bit easy, guys, and just take her easy. 530 pounds of bike is a lot to maneuver in these conditions. All right, guys, we're back and feeling more comfortable on this motorcycle. Turns out the ergonomics are actually pretty good in the standing up position, minus the super rearward sweep handlebar. Now, the brakes, while the brakes are awesome on the street, the aggressiveness of the master cylinder really means you have to be careful when actuating the front brake. It's just, you barely even have to touch the front brake lever and the brakes are on. So again, awesome feature on the street, but on the dirt, it's a little bit overly sensitive for my liking. Thank God we have front ABS on, so even if we use too much front brake, the vehicle won't lose control. Again, right now we're riding in full power with the smoother riding map. Again, I always like to have full power off-road, just with a smoother throttle response, so I can just have power to clear obstacles and power over things. Overall, this Multistrada V4 S is a pretty neat bike. It has increased its road chops, so not only is it a more awesome street bike with all the feel and pedigree of a Panigale V4 sport bike, but it's more comfortable. They've done a better job with the heat management. The Panigale V4 and the Street Fighter just cook you. This motorcycle has a little bit better heat management for the rider, so it kicks off a little bit less heat on you, which is a really good thing. And the increased off-road prowess of this motorcycle. Now, I'm not going to say that this is a full-on dirt bike style adventure bike, but Ducati has definitely closed the gap on its nemesis, the Motorrad company. And believe me, that is their nemesis and their goal, their carrot they're chasing when they make these bikes. And the more I ride this bike, the more I like it. The ergonomics for off-road riding are actually pretty good. Even though the handlebar has a lot of rearward sweep, it still works real well. It's nice and slim. The bike's fairly easy to squeeze with your knees. I know I said it wasn't before, but now upon reflection it actually is. There's still some hardware components though that dig into your inside of your leg when you're squeezing, which just kind of gets annoying. And then just the small size of the foot pegs, it literally almost causes discomfort in my foot after standing at the controls for 10-15 minutes without sitting down, just because it puts all that weight on a very small surface area on your feet. But besides those complaints, this bike actually works pretty good for a 530-pound adventure bike. One of the things that I don't like about this motorcycle is, number one, it drinks the fuel. 30 miles per gallon is what we've been averaging on this thing. V4 engine, very thirsty, has an appetite for revs. This thing is going to drink gas. Thankfully, it has a nearly 6-gallon fuel tank, so you have some capacity. Also, even though Ducati's made great strides in the electronics department and putting on a big screen, the menu navigation and the intuitiveness of the system is kind of clunky. It's hard for me to find the settings that I like. Sometimes I get stuck in the menu. Ducati could really do well by hooking up with Apple and adding some just simplicity in their menu system. I think if they did that, it would go a long way in making the motorcycle easier to live with. Of course, the display itself looks nice, and the tactile function of the switchgear is better. It's still not as good as a BMW, but it definitely is better. But if they could just figure out the menu navigation a little bit better, they would really be checking a lot of boxes with this Multistrada V4. All right, folks, we're gonna check in with you again in a little bit here. All right, folks, we're back on the pavement after a fun session off-road, and I am surprised by the added capability of this Multistrada V4. I'm still not the biggest fan. Obviously, the 17-inch combo, it is an improvement versus the 17s on the previous Multi, but to really offer an authentic dirt experience, you have to have a 2118 setup. There's just no other option. But to be fair, with a 2118 setup, you're not going to be able to get the crazy good handling this thing has on the street. I mean, when you're riding this bike, it feels oddly similar to a S1000 XR, just its extreme handling pedigree, when you have it fitted with the OE Pirelli Scorpion 2 street tire. But a very nice motorcycle from Ducati. It is fast, it is comfortable, the suspension has good action, it has a lot of creature comforts. Yes, the electronic interface could be improved and could be a little bit easier to work the menu system and select the various features of the motorcycle. But besides that, and the small foot pegs and the levers that don't have a lot of inward adjustment for riders with small-ish kind of hands, those are the real only squawks I have on this motorcycle. The fit and finish is definitely increasing. The build quality on these components and the way the motorcycle is put together is definitely an improvement based on previous Multistradas. The flimsiness of this stuff kind of still irks me a little bit, but it's good to see them making strides in the right direction. All right, folks, let's wrap this thing up. We did it. That was a fun day riding Ducati's 2021 Multistrada V4 S. We rode it on the street. We rode it on the dirt. And this motorcycle is a much more capable everything from hardcore sport riding to riding off-road. There's not one thing that this bike doesn't do better than the previous third generation L-twin powered Ducati. I really like the performance of this motorcycle on the road. That Panigale V4 Heart, that thing is fast, it's exhilarating, it's punchy, the added bore really lets the engine make power at a lower RPM. Those Panigales and Street Fighters are awesome, but you have to have the thing just spinning at an ungodly RPM for it to really go. And this thing just has much more low RPM grunt, which is perfect for the street. I really like how comfortable it is, the big wide handlebar, the fairing, the seat. This motorcycle really is loaded with all of the creature comforts. Yes, the menu navigation needs to be improved. It always needs to improve. Ducati will never figure that out for some reason. But besides that knock and the smallish foot pegs and the inability to adjust the brake lever and the clutch lever more inward, I really like this motorcycle. Would I spend my $24,700 on this motorcycle? I personally would not. Even though it is fast, exhilarating, I need a motorcycle that is going to be even more versatile than this bike if I'm looking for an adventure touring rig. An adventure touring rig I'm going to take is going to have a 21-inch front, 18-inch rear setup, because I'm going to take it in some very difficult places just because I like riding that kind of terrain. Still, if you are adventure rider who's going to do more pavement and you want that Panigale Pam bow in your face performance with a little bit more performance in the dirt, if you were to ride on some dirt trails and a little bit of light duty rocks, this bike would be good for you. Well, folks, that's a wrap from today's special edition MC Commute live from the official 2021 Ducati press introduction for the Multistrada. Hop online to motorcyclistonline.com to read all of my content. There'll be reviews and lots of content on this vehicle and all new 2021 motorcycles. So check it out there. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs it down if you thought it was terrible. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.